Hi, welcome everyone. This is Vamsi and hello. Today the project we are going to discuss about practical project commercial management. This is one of the important topics that every project manager should know and must know. And this particular project commercial management topic is divided into several parts to make yourself understand and digest the content instead of putting that into an hour long or 2 hour long session. I have just divided that into several parts. The first part we are going to discuss about the project top line and bottom lines. So let's move on to the agenda slide. So in this session we are going to discuss about the profit margin, which is important for running your business. What does it mean by profit or margin? And what are the different components of revenue, the different components of cost, and what does it mean by gross margin and operating margin of your project, and obviously what does the top line and bottom lines means, and what is the impact of this top line and bottom lines depending upon the change in revenue and change in cost, that we call it as a revenue pressure and cost pressure. And then finally we are going to work on some examples so that you can correlate all the concepts that we uh, have been scrolling through from the profit margin to top lines to bottom lines. So let's kickstart this session with understanding what is the purpose of business. So every business exists to generate the profit or margin out of it. When you call it as a business, it is not a charity where you will provide all your business services just for the sake of charity or to uh, not gain anything out of the business. So the ultimate objective of all the business is to generate the profit and margin. So we need to understand what is meant by profit to understand how to increase the profit or what things will decrease the profit. So that is going to be the discussion point in this particular session. So let's move on to the next slide, wherein we are showing you the different components of revenue. So revenue is one of the important ingredient that you need to understand when you want to understand about profit or margins of your project. So the revenue tells us what the money received from the sales and services. So all the money that is coming to your project or to your business is revenue. So in case of IT projects, all the money that is received through the time and material work that you have done for your client, as well as the fixed price project that you execute for your client. So those money that is received will constitute your revenue. Now, what are the different ways in which you can get revenue for your project in any given scenario? Is this, there are three types here. One is service revenue, and second one is reimbursement revenue, and third one is a pass-through revenue. In case of service revenue, all the money that is received through T&M and FPP projects for the resources and the services of the project. In case of T&M, you are providing resources to the client, and the client will he will give back the money for each of the resources and the time spent in that project for the client as per the rate that has been agreed between you and the client. So all the money that is coming directly for the project that you have delivered in case of FPP, or the number of resources or the number of hours that you have provided to the client for executing their own projects. So those money will constitute your service revenue. The other way in which money can come from is for the travels that you have made for your project work or the infrastructure costs, such as setting up the link between your organization, your project, the ODC, or your offshore development center with the client servers, or setting up the different systems that is required for your project execution, the places required, and any other cost that client is ready to reimburse for the money that you have invested for kickstarting or executing your project. That will constitute your reimbursement revenue. That is, you are just getting back what money that you have invested. So there will not be any what will you say, that there will not be any extra money that you will get out of this. And pass-through revenues is something that wherein you will do some work, or you will do some work on behalf of your client, and sometimes instead of getting a direct reimbursement, you will charge a percentage of profit over it for the services that you have rendered. For example, if you want to buy licenses for software for executing your project, instead of client getting involved, their client might say, okay, I don't want to waste my time, I do not have time to spend or uh, uh, go through the shopping and then get the best licensing options available. You go ahead and purchase whatever licensing required for the project, and I will reimburse it, or along with the services charge that you are going to provide for the client. So that is one way of getting revenue, is a pass-through revenue. Sometimes client might say that they wanted to get involved in some particular set of work, wherein instead of directly having that particular company, the third party company involved in that, due to various internal and business reasons, the client will ask you to get in agreement with that third party and then provide the services. So such a kind of services, we will put some more margin out of it and then bill the client. So these are the different ways in which you can receive money for your project or your business or your company for that sake. So revenue can come from a service, or it can be a reimbursement of the services or the infrastructure or travel cost that you have made use for the project, or sometimes the pass-through revenue. Now the another ingredient of profit or margin is the cost. So you know, the cost is something that you spend out of your hand to acquire something or to provide something. So here there are two different types of costs involved in your project. So one is the direct cost and other one is the indirect cost. In case of direct costs, the costs that are directly attributed to the project, that means any cost that is involved in executing the project, delivering the project, is attributed as a direct cost. But some of the costs which may not be directly attributed to the projects, for example, your sales, you will not have a sales team or sales or marketing team working very specifically for your project. They might be working on several projects or several clients. And similarly, there might be your finance people, there might be HR department, or there might be infrastructure management group which is required for supporting your project. So those kind of costs that your project has to share will come under the title of indirect cost. So there are two kinds of cost involved in your project. One is the direct cost and indirect cost. Now the important concept, coming to why the very purpose of existence of your business is to make profit. So what is profit is all about? It is the revenue that you got from the various services. It may be a service revenue, or it may be the revenue that got through reimbursement of your travel or other cost, or it can be a pass-through revenue. Those revenue, you deduct all the direct cost, it will give you the gross margin. This is what we call it as a gross margin, because this is gross margin is directly attributed to your project. So this is the margin that you are getting out of your project. So apart from that, there is one more cost that is involved, indirect cost for your organization or your company. So there might be some other supporting departments that needs to exist to run the organization, and your project also need to share that cost also. So the gross margin minus your indirect cost will give you the operating margin of the project. So the profit is revenue minus direct cost minus indirect cost.